Welcome to Learning and Practice. In this session, we will present the mathematical proof for the quadratic formula, which is used to solve the general quadratic equations in the format ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Now, our objective is to turn it into a simple quadratic by turning the factor of x squared into 1, getting rid of the a. Not really, but factorizing. So we're going to factorize the first two terms, taking a as a common factor, in order to turn it into a simple quadratic. Now, doing that gives us a and x squared plus b over ax. So that a times x squared gives us back the term on ax squared, and a times b over ax gives us the second term bx. Now, inside the square bracket, we have x squared plus ba over x, which you can now factorize using completing the square. Completing the square we presented in other sessions. Now, completing the square gives x plus b over 2a, everything squared, minus the term that we need to get rid of, which is b squared over 4a squared. Now, to explain how we needed to do that, let's look at the expansion of x plus b over 2a squared. Now, using the grid method, x plus b over 2a times x plus b would give us the x squared plus b over 2a squared, two terms, give us b over a x, and then the additional term plus b squared over 4a squared, which needs to get rid of by doing minus b squared over 4a squared. And that's completing the square inside the squared brackets, which gives us x squared plus b over a x. Now, expanding the square brackets by multiplying a by the first term, x plus b over 2a squared, and then a by the second term, minus b squared over 4a squared, give us that first term, but minus the b squared over 4a, as a and a squared simplified to give b squared over 4a. Now, the term c can be written as a fraction as c over 1. And we're going to simplify, well, the aim is to simplify the two fractions, the second and the third term, by writing c with the common denominator of 4a. So multiplying c over 1 by 4a, numerator denominator, gives us 4ac over 4a. Now we have the second and third term with the common denominator 4a. Now we need to solve in terms of x, so we need to get rid of the second and the third term. So we're going to do the opposite, plus b squared over 4a and minus 4ac over 4a, which gives us a times x plus b over 2a squared equals b squared over 4a minus 4ac over 4a. Now we need to solve in terms of x, so we need first to simplify the right hand side by writing it as a single fraction over 4a. That's it. So, which gives us now the left hand side term remains the same. On the right hand side we have b squared minus 4ac over a. Solving in x, we need to get rid of a, so we're going to divide both sides by a. Now 4a by a will give us the 4a squared, and then a cancels with the a on the left hand side, and the new denominator becomes 4a squared by dividing the right side by a. We're going to rewrite this after dividing the both terms by a, which gives us x plus b over 2a squared equals b squared minus 4ac over 4a squared. Now we need to solve, so to get rid of the square by square rooting both sides. Now we have to pay attention here. Square rooting square, like square root of 4, gives us two solutions. The positive one, in this case plus 2, or the negative one, minus 2. That's plus or minus 2, both squared to give 4. So the square root of the left hand side will give us plus or minus the square root of the right hand side. We can square root separately numerator and denominator. Now pay attention here that the square root of 4a squared will give us a new denominator, which will be 2a. 4a squared turning into 2a. Now, let's square root both sides, which gets rid of the square on the left hand side, give us x plus b over 2a equals plus or minus two solutions, b squared. So we need to find x by now removing plus b over 2a from the left by doing minus b over 2a on both sides. That will give us the solution x equals minus b over 2a plus or minus the square root of b squared over 2a. Now we have common denominator. We can turn the right hand side into a single fraction, which gives us the formula x minus b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a, which is the quadratic formula. Now, next sessions we'll be looking at some examples on how we can use the general quadratic formula to solve general quadratic equations. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and see you next lesson.